What's up everyone? In this week's video, I'll be going over again a couple of photos that I've taken recently. Again, like my other two videos that I've done in the past about my monthly process and such, going over my thought process, going over how I compose photos, what might have gone in my mind during those times, and so on and so forth. Anyways, before I start rambling off again, let's get started. Starting off with the first photo for this video, I want to talk about this shot that I had in Venice Beach. There are two pictures right here. I'll explain why there's two later, but first let me go to this black and white one right here. So the settings that I took with this photo. So for this photo, I took with my 24-70 G Master 2, again at Venice Beach. I had it at ISO 200, shutter speed is 1/6400th of a second, and f7.1. So the first thing I tried to do with this photo is get this palm tree in the frame. That was one of the most important things I wanted in the frame, as LA vibes and such like that. And the second thing is obviously I wanted a person in the photo. So with this picture, I took it with the 24-70 G Master 2, and I took it around the 63mm mark. Obviously I didn't, want exactly 63mm, but I wanted to be wide enough to where the tree was still in the frame. But also, I wanted to be zoomed up enough to where I get that compression. As you can see, the biker and then the tree. They don't look too spaced out, which might have been if I've gone, more lower in the focal length, like 50mm or 35mm and such like that. So I really wanted that compression, which is why I chose that longer focal length. Another key thing that I wanted to pay attention to in the composition of this photo is to make sure that there was no one walking in the background. This is a pretty crowded place, Venice Beach. If you've been there before, you know just how many people there are in this one spot. So it was pretty hard to, get people to not, be walking in the frame. But I just had to have patience. I waited for around 20 minutes or so, which is a little bit longer than I usually wait. But this photo, I felt like I would really like it a lot. So I waited a bit longer. And I did really like this photo a lot. So in the end, it was well worth it. Anyways, before I get off topic, I really wanted to make sure there was no one in the background. That was the first key. So the second thing I wanted to do with this photo is to make sure that the subject or the biker, whatever person was riding down this road, was closer to me rather than far away from me. If they were far away from me, they wouldn't have been as big in the frame, and because of that, they wouldn't have been noticeable in the picture. With the biker being close to me, not only are they bigger, but they dominate more of the frame, which means your attention goes more to them rather than, a smaller subject, like let's say, this little branch right here or something. So that was another key thing that I wanted to do as well. I wanted to make sure that whatever subject rode past me, they were on the lane closer to me than the one that was farther away from me. So getting to why I have two versions of this photo. When I was editing this photo, I really didn't know whether I wanted to go with black and white or with color. And I honestly, now that, I've sat with this photo for quite a while, I think I've actually liked the black and white version more than the color version. I do like how in the color version, there's, that kind of orange glow. It wasn't quite sunset when I took this photo. It was right before, like that time period right before golden hour. But I don't know, this black and white photo just looks more dynamic to me. Maybe because it wasn't, peak sunset, so you don't have that, beautiful silhouette and the orange glow of the sunset. But the black and white version for me is more preferable just because, again, the dynamics that black and white photos bring and, the harsh contrast between the light and the shadows. So the one thing I wish I would have done with this photo is being very picky, I know, but one thing I wish I would have done with this photo is that you can see that the tree is a bit blurry, and that's because I didn't stop down enough. I only had it at, f7.1. If I would have made it, f11 or something like that, f13, the palm tree wouldn't have been as blurry, and thus it would have been more in focus. But that's not really something you'd notice if I'm looking at the picture, from far away. So it's not too much of a problem, but that's something that I wish I would have done if I could go back and take this photo again. So going on to the second photo. The next photo I have is a photo again taken in Venice Beach, but this time it was actually during peak sunset. And this was a silhouette shot that I got there. So again, quickly talking about the settings. With this photo, I took it with my 24-70 G Master 2. Of course, I took it with my A7R5. I took it at ISO 200, 70mm, f8, and 1/640th of a second. So with this photo, it says I took it at 70mm, but in actuality, I had it in APS-C crop mode. So that's probably roughly around 105mm or so. So this was definitely very zoomed in. So the idea of this photo actually came from a photo that I took last month, the silhouette shot that I had in Venice Beach last month. If you haven't seen that, you can see it in my other video that I posted last month, the Los Angeles Street Photography 2 video. But basically with that photo, that actually inspired me to come back here and see if I can get any other silhouette photos, because Venice Beach, if you've been there before, there are so many of these palm trees, so many of these beautiful, as you can see, these like light poles that, it's very nice. And because the sun sets perfectly in those areas, because we're on the West Coast in LA, you get these beautiful silhouettes. So I kind of wanted to see if I can get more of that. So composition wise, the original idea I had with this photo is I wanted to take basically 3 sets of photos. One from very far away, wide, 24 millimeters. And then the next, I wanted to keep zooming in until I got closer and closer. And this actually happened to be one of the middle shots that I got. So with this photo, this was kind of an accident, but I really like how this photo turned out. So the reason why I like this photo so much is because obviously, for me, I think it looks very nice, but also because if you zoom in closely, you can kind of see multiple stories develop. For example, with this couple right here, you can see that they're enjoying their time, walking across the frame. I don't know where they're getting to, but you can kind of use your imagination for that. And on the left, you see these couple of friends right here. They're taking pictures, having a good time, chatting, looking at the beautiful sunset. And then on the right here, you have this couple right here, and they're doing the exact same thing. And this kind of right here just describes the vibe of Venice Beach to me, that people are just enjoying their time, relaxing. Maybe they came from work, maybe they're travelers. So with this, I really like how this frame kind of encapsulates the idea of Venice Beach for me. And this photo, I like how you can see how everyone's in their own little world. And also for composition-wise again, I like how these people are very, very distinct from the background. For example, this couple right here, you can clearly see that they're, walking across the frame. Why? Because the sky right here is right behind them. There's nothing behind them to block their figure. And same thing goes for everyone on the left, and same thing goes for everything on the right. Of course, there are people that are blocked out, like these 3 people right here, but they're not really important. Everyone who is important for me is very, very noticeable because the background is the sky, and them right there are being placed as such, so their figure is totally visible. So one thing I wanted to do in post with this photo when I was done with it was to make sure I added the sunset glow back, as well as add some magenta to bring some of the pink sky back, as that day the sky was super nice. So one thing I wish I could have done with this photo was to have these trees on the right get out the way, which basically the only way for me to get that result is to just go in closer. But if I would have gone in closer, then these people wouldn't have been in the exact same poses and such. So, if I were to make the perfect image out of this image for me, I would have taken that tree out. But it's not too bothersome for me, so I'll live with it. So for the last photo of the day, we have the silhouette picture that I took in Santa Monica. So to go over the settings really quickly, I took it with my A7R5, I took it with my 55mm Zeiss lens, ISO 100, f5, 1/1250th of a second. So with this photo, my idea was to try and capture a person in between each bar of this kind of, I guess railing is a better word. And you can kind of see how difficult this was already. It was very difficult to the point where this isn't even a perfect picture in my opinion, as there are some people that aren't dead center in the bar. This was just the best I can do. I basically waited here for the entire duration of golden hour, which was 30 minutes or so. So with that, this was the only image that I thought was good enough to even like a little bit. I have, way more variants of this, which I will show later. But this was the best version that I could find and that I could take during that day. This picture was super difficult to take. To list a couple examples of why it was difficult, the first one being walking speed. So everyone, walks differently. Everyone either has, somewhere to go. Some people want to enjoy the sunset, the view of the mountains and the faraway distance, so on and so forth. There are many reasons why people will walk faster or slower, but people have different walking speeds. That's one kind of challenge I had to get over. Another challenge was people walking in specific directions. Either they're going away from the pier or they're going towards the pier. So that was also a difficult situation to kind of navigate and get through. So now let me show you the failed versions I have. So again, I had a bunch of versions, but the other versions I had are these. So as you can see, this isn't exactly what I wanted. You can see 2 people in certain bars. You can see some people not even dead center in the bar. And then you can also see people just not even visible. Their face not even visible and they're being blocked by the bar. So this is a difficult shot to get. And I was up to the challenge and I still am. This isn't the final version that I wanted. So I might go back and, try to get the perfect image, but it's difficult. So with these types of photos, I know some people like to use burst and just kind of fire down shots away. So with these photos, I actually don't use burst. I just use single shot. The reason why I don't use burst is because I hate coming back and viewing 500 photos of the same thing or 800 photos of the same thing. It just gets annoying in my opinion. And having to find only one out of the 800 or 500 shots is very time consuming for me, to the point where I don't even want to do that. So if I miss a shot because of that, whatever. I'll only use burst like it has to be very specific. So with this composition, I actually looked and found the composition during the daytime. But I figured that I would wait until the sun sets, that way I can get that nice silhouette glow. If I took this during daytime, I do have a couple of pictures from daytime. I just didn't like the colors, I didn't like how it looked. Everything about it seemed kind of dry, if that makes sense. So that's why I decided to wait until sunset to get this picture. So the last thing I want to talk about for this photo is the actual crop. So this picture was not the way I took it in camera. I actually took it like this. So this picture is what I actually took in camera, and because, you know, the A7R5 and the ability to crop, I was able to crop way in and not lose too many megapixels. That's the pro of having, you know, a high megapixel camera, that you can do this without losing too much quality. I'm not afraid to crop if I have to get what I want. I know some people, you know, preach that cropping, you know, is bad and blah, 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 blah. I really don't care. If I can crop to get a good picture, I'll crop to get a good picture. Obviously, I try my best to get the perfect picture straight out of camera, but sometimes you can't do that all the time. So, you know, that's why I have this high megapixel camera, to have that flexibility. Well, that's all for this video. I hope this video was fun and gave you some insight or ideas for your own photos. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like and subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next week. Later.